Morning, Mary.
Good morning. You want to wave and then say bye-bye?
Oh, who do we have?
This is my son, Brandon.
Hi, Brandon.
He saw me getting on and he's about to head to school.
Wow,
So,
good. Is school in person or remote?
it's daycare. He's in preschool. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, tell him thanks for saying hi. Hi, Brandon. Thanks for saying hello. Oh,
Is
that
he
was great.
excited that mom's in school too?
Yeah, always. And my daughter, Cora.
Hi, Cora.
You got to come so they can see.
Hi, good morning.
Morning,
You say
Cora.
good morning. Okay, see you later. I love you.
Bye.
Go, go, go. We got stuff to do. Go, go, go.
Such sweet little voices.
That's great.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. It's 8 o'clock. We're going to get started. Thanks for you folks for being here on time. Today is, it's one of the more important concepts. They're all important, but this one's a vital one for us to learn about. A review of our learning activities. We did, the intention that we had yesterday was to do our Teach to Learn activity, and then also create a prediction, then move something. Some of us might have just made the prediction and documented it. The lessons that we're going to, or key concepts we're going to address today, are variation and answering the question, well, how did it go when we made our moves? And then today we're going to talk more about making moves so that we can actually learn. How do we set ourselves up for learning? Our concept today out of the System of Profound Knowledge is understanding variation. Dr. Deming talked about distinguishing the differences between sources of variation as well as understanding its causes and predicting behavior. And he says it's a key to management's ability to properly remove barriers or problems in the system. However, without knowledge of variation, management might very well, with the best intention, take action that actually makes things worse. Just as important, through knowledge of variation, management realizes that attributing a problem to a person instead of the system is misguided and misleading. And Deming is quoted as saying, if I had to reduce my message for management to just a few words, I'd say it all had to do with reducing variation. And regarding variation, he wrote, the most important application of the principles of statistical quality control, by which I mean knowledge about common causes and special causes, is in the management of people. He added, the various segments of the system of profound knowledge proposed here cannot be separated. They interact with each other. Thus, knowledge of psychology is incomplete without knowledge of variation. The most important application of Dr. Stewart's contribution to statistics is in the management of people. So we have an interesting interaction and vital interaction between the areas of profound knowledge. And he especially calls out the relationship between variation and psychology and management of people. So how do we reduce variation? What questions might we ask? How do we recognize or see variation? So take out a piece of paper, please, and a pen or paper. All right, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. It's called a signature activity. It's very complicated, you'll see. Write your signature as neatly and clearly as you can. Tammy, you could do this since you're going to be in a conversation with people about this. Frank, you might want to do it as well. So that's step one. Step 2, repeat. Step 3 is select the best signature, 1 or 2, and copy it exactly. Step 4, try again to copy the best signature of 1 or 2 exactly. Step 5, look at all 4 signatures and copy the best one out of those 4 exactly. Step 6, switch hands and copy the best one exactly. So now you're writing with a different hand. Wow. So what did you notice?
Most of mine are fairly similar until we get to left hand.
So I presume your left hand is your last one?
Correct.
Yeah. What else?
In general, my signature, my certain vowels you can't really see anyway. So people often think when I say my name, it's like May versus Mary or something like that. So I was
Yes.
trying to be more deliberate, with the letters, but because I do it so often, it just couldn't, just that whole remote or mote, you know what I'm talking about, the way my brain functions, my learning of it, it was hard to change.
Yeah. All right. Another comment. What else?
My signature changed every single time with a little difference.
Okay, good. All right. So we're going to use this as conversation fodder later. As we learn about this area of system of profound knowledge, we'll be introduced to 2 sources of variation: common causes and special causes. We will also learn about the 2 mistakes that one can make when attempting to manage variation. Mistake 1 is treating common cause variation as if it is special cause. And mistake 2 is treating special cause variation as if it is common cause. So we'll describe the 2 sources of variation. Common cause variation is distinguished from special cause by the following characteristics. Each factor contributes a small amount to the total variation with common cause variation. No one cause contributes significantly more than any other cause. All data are relevant for generating improvement. And asking what happened is a low yield and costly strategy. Your drive time to and from work, well, what it used to be, depending on where you're working today, is an example of a process that exhibits common cause variation on most days. On most days, it would be a waste of time to spend any effort asking and trying to answer the question, why did I get to work 4 minutes slower today than yesterday? It's just all these little causes during your commute add up to make your commute either faster or slower, never exactly the same. Not unlike your signatures 1 through 5. There's little variation in each one of those, but asking why those are different would be a waste of time. Special cause sources of variation are distinguished by the following characteristics. A special cause temporarily or sporadically disturbs a process. Special cause is not always present in a process. They can come and go. And different special causes affect a process in different ways. Some affect one data point, others may affect many data points. And special cause has a more pronounced effect than any single common cause. And they can be identified and is generally not a normal part of work. Asking what happened is a useful strategy. So in our signature exercise, which one was the special cause? Was there a special cause in our signature exercise?
Yeah, when
Switching
you,
hands.
when you introduce the hands in.
Yep. Yeah, we switched hands, so it's easily identifiable, and we can see it in the data. And then since we produced it, it's easy for us to know what the cause was. But even if we're looking at someone else's piece of paper, we could look at it and say something happened here, and asking what happened is worthwhile. All the other sources of variation, it's not worthwhile asking what happened, because one A might be written slightly differently than another A. So in the special cause example, in your commute times, it might be an accident impacting the process for only a few hours on a single day, or construction impacting the process temporarily, but for a more extended period of time. Asking what happened to cause me to be 20 minutes late today could provide useful information, especially if it causes you to select an alternate route to avoid construction delays. So we're going to take a quiz, a short quiz. In your materials, you have a handout that looks like this. If you don't have your handout available, you can easily record your answers by circling either the correct response on the handout, or simply by writing down the item letter A, B, C, etc., and either M1 or M2 to indicate your choice. So I'm going to first ask all the questions, then we'll give and discuss the answers to each one. So we're going to ask questions about, is this mistake 1 or mistake 2 that somebody is making? So either write down or circle your answer. One employee is repeatedly late. The manager implements a tardiness penalty for the entire area. Is this mistake 1 or is this mistake 2? Either write down M1 or M2 for A, or circle your response. All right, I'm going to move on. B, checking your weight daily while on a weight loss program and overreacting. Is this mistake 1 or mistake 2? Are we treating common cause variation as if it's special cause, or are we treating special cause variation as if it's common cause? Moving on. C, rewarding a department that produced high output 1 week. Is this mistake 1, treating common cause variation as if it's special cause, or mistake 2, treating special cause variation as if it's common cause? All right, D, Reorganization of departments as a useful strategy. Is this mistake 1 or mistake 2? Reorganization of departments as a useful strategy. Is this treating common cause variation as if it is special cause, or is it treating special cause variation as if it is common cause? And E, our last one, taking action on a single negative survey comment. Is this mistake 1 or mistake 2? All right, let's go through these and discuss our answers. So, A, one employee is repeatedly late. The manager implements a tardiness penalty for the entire area. Is this mistake 1 or mistake 2?
2,
Why is it mistake 2?
because it's one employee who's been late.
That's right. And what's a better approach?
Talk to the one person.
Exactly. Why do we avoid that sometimes?
To not single them out, or maybe we don't want to have that difficult conversation.
Yeah, sometimes we just want to avoid the challenge of actually, coming face to face with a difficult conversation. Good point. All right. B. So so this is mistake 2. So on B, checking your weight daily while overreacting, and on a weight loss program and overreacting. Is that mistake 1 or mistake 2?
1.
1. So why is that mistake 1?
Because there should be expected variation in your body weight day to
Yeah.
day.
Your body weight does vary quite a bit day to day, right? That's a result of many factors. So it varies not only daily, but sometimes hourly.
Yeah.
There's water retention. There's types of food you've eaten, levels of sodium, potassium, and magnesium in your system, the day of the week, the intensity of yesterday's exercise, medications consumed. Even the weather has an impact on our daily weight. So better management. What's the better management approach to this?
Maybe choosing like one day a week at a
That's-
specific time.
Yep. And is there a particular day of the week that's recommended? Does anybody know this one? There is a day of the week that's recommended. Did you know that?
Maybe like the middle of the week when you're less likely to binge eat.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So avoiding weekends or Mondays, but Wednesday is a recommended day for doing your weekly weigh-in. I didn't know this when I started looking it up. I thought, well, my usual day was Mondays. I'm thinking Monday would be a good day, but apparently not. So, all right, good. All right, C, rewarding a department that produced high output one week. So this one is one of the two that gets me the most debates. So what do you think? Mistake 1 or mistake 2?
I was originally thinking 2, but re-looking at it now, I'm thinking maybe a 1. Because if you're looking at the overall system, the departments, they're going to have variation, just like the weight thing. They're going to vary over time. So one good week doesn't necessarily stand out over the year.
Yep. Yeah. So the manager that made me her quality advisor. So when she became division president, that division had 400 people in it. And sometimes, groups like the hourly payroll people would have an exceptional week. They would track problems in their system. They call them ABENs, abnormal endings. And they would track those. We never were late on a payroll, but sometimes we would have issues getting the payroll out. And so tracking abnormal endings was one of the metrics. And one week, there was a particularly good low number. And she sent out attaboys to the entire division acknowledging hourly payroll. But we looked at the control chart for the ABN numbers and we said, Prudence, this is within the normal range of your system's performance. You just acknowledge people for the system and not their individual work. So it's a challenging situation sometimes, but most of the time, like you said, Brian, there's variation, and the week's high output is probably not the result of something special. So how do we do better management in a situation like this?
Maybe the same as the weight loss. Don't call out weekly measures. Do it maybe quarterly or something, or on a little bit larger scale.
Yeah, this is kind of an unfair question at the moment, because one of the better management approaches is something you haven't learned yet. And it's use control charts to track outputs over time. And there's tests for special cause that we can apply and identify when something special or different happened. Not unlike identifying when you switched hands on your signatures, you can easily see it in a control chart. Something different is going on. We should investigate. So D, reorganization of a department as a useful strategy. Anybody experienced departmental reorgs ever? Raise your hand. Nobody's ever been in a reorg? Yes. MRS has, yep. Yeah. Covant. Yeah, you've been acquired, right? So that's kind of a reorg, right? So what's the response to this? Is this mistake 1 or mistake 2? Reorganization. I'm not saying acquisition is, but reorganization.
I put that it was a mistake 2 because it was reorganization. To me seems like it's a more of a, I don't know. I guess I was treating it more like it's a larger event, therefore it's more special. But maybe that's not technically correct.
Yeah, you'd want to ask, well, what would be the special cause we're responding to make that mistake?
I did actually have that info. I put that I didn't feel that there was enough info to really determine if that was next to my answer.
So in this one, it's probably mistake 1. The reason being, unless the root cause of the organization's problems has been identified as organizational structure, we're making a mistake, and we're treating common cause variation as if it's special, as if the organizational structure is the source of the problem, and we don't know that yet. So hoping to fix organization-wide problems without identifying the organizational structure as the root cause is a mistake. It also does things like eliminate your ability to track the effects of a change on existing processes, because we restructure all the data collection processes. We kind of go back to 0 on those kind of things. So it's we want to be very sure that structure is the problem. So better management, what would that look like? If we're saying we've got issues in the organization, what are some of the things we want to address before we attack a reorg? This is also challenging because it might be things that we haven't thought about a lot. We want to provide leadership. We want to identify the source policies, systems, and decision-making methods and other structures that are negatively impacting the organization, because those are all common cause factors that affect all the data points, that affect all the performance in the organization. All right, last one. E, taking action on a single negative comment. Is this mistake 1 or mistake 2? It's kind of, the hint is right in the picture here, right?
Well, the fact that it's a single negative survey comment.
Yeah, so is it mistake
Means
1
it's
or
a
mistake
special.
2 that we're making?
I put 2.
That's right. One person's comment does not represent the feelings or beliefs of everyone in the target population. So better management would provide leadership, make sure that we're not responding to the most vocal voices, but pay attention to sometimes the people who are responding negatively may not be representative of the entire population, right? So you want to look at the entire system of responses before you respond. All right, so Now we've had some experience talking about some of the issues around variation. This is very high level, of course, already. And you're going to break into partner groups. And with a partner, you'll discuss what you noticed from our signature exercise about the sources of variation. And I'll ask you to combine your discussion of the exercise with these following discussion questions. Now, there's a document that I sent you, variation L name. You can either record notes in this document while you're talking, or you can record notes and transfer them to this document. I'm asking you to submit this document after our session today. So as you discuss what you learned about the two sources of variation from the signature exercise, as well as mistake 1 and mistake 2 from the quiz with your partner, you'll also make your own personal notes about the following questions, and you'll be submitting your notes with your responses to this. What do sources of, where do sources of variation occur in your work? So that's one thing you want to discuss with your partner. Where does variation occur in my work? How is variation influencing my work? So it may exist, but it may or may not have an influence. You want to talk about how it's influencing your work. And then how are you interpreting as special or common cause and responding to that variation? So now you've realized that I may be making mistakes in how I respond to some of the variation. Now, you're only going to have about 6 minutes or so total for this exercise. So what I'd like you to do with your partner is quickly give a quick response to each one of these questions, make your notes, and then cycle back and if you have time, expand on those thoughts. All right. So Frank is going to break us into pairs, and here's the pairings for today. Brian and Tiffany will be a partner in one room. Hemanth and Tammy will be partners in another room. Charlie and Mary will also be partners in another room. Okay, so Frank, if you can put people into their breakouts. Wait, just any questions before we dive into this? What you're supposed to be doing on this exercise? All right.
Here you go.
Welcome back. So tell me about your conversations. Brian and Tiffany.
Though our jobs are vastly different, I think we found some similarities, especially in the last question, as to how we interpret and handle the variations.
How was that?
Well,
Both.
it was kind of nice to know that not just me, but being in this field, I'm not alone in having some of these feelings of no control over the higher level aspects of being able to fix or implement changes in things.
I got it. So Tiffany, you were saying something?
Oh yeah, I was just going to elaborate on that point. We both agreed that the sources of variation that we talked about were common, and so far, like, my reaction to it has been like reactionary instead of treating it. But I kind of just control what I can, and that's how I've been responding to that source of variation.
I got it. Thanks. All right, Hemanth and Tammy. Hemanth, what did you guys talk about?
Yeah. So like Brian mentioned, our work is quite different, but we kind of discussed the higher level aspects, like different departments doing work quite differently. And though the standard policies and protocols are the same for the entire company, different departments work quite differently, and how they manage the production and also how they manage collection of data is different. And we kind of interpreted my workflow as a common cause variation and Tammy's workflow as a specialty cause based on different geographical areas and how they like work to meet the end goal of like mm, preparing an individual to be job ready, and also how all these variations are managed at the higher level, because every variation is very individualized, uh, and different counselors need to work separately with all the like all the staff or other individuals to meet the requirements to be job ready.
Yeah, you might want to consider that that's actually a common cause variation going on, because that's the way the system is structured, and that you've got an approach that enables and supports all that variation, and so it's common to that system. And so even though it looks like there's exceedingly large amounts of variation, that does not mean that it's not common cause variation. So common cause doesn't mean, like special cause and common cause doesn't mean the width of the distribution of data. It just means like, what are the sources of variation, and is it the system or is it an identifiable source? So it sounds much more like it's a system source that of the description you're using. All right, I'm going to move on to Charlie and Mary.
I don't know if Charlie wants to talk. What we pretty much talked about is that our actual jobs, we pretty much kind of control that. So there's not necessarily a lot of variation within what we do, but there are other people who do the things that we do, but more in their own like silos. But that variation in what they do sometimes causes a special case or special cause for us.
I got it. Yep. Charlie, any thoughts?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Just any thoughts, Charlie?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's kind of hard to identify where different sources of variation kind of occur, but we were just kind of talking about how there are some like outside influences within our own structure that can impact like how our study work is done as well, or our work in general, or it might impact like a client idea of what they expect they'll receive, or like have an influence on the kind of service that they think that they're going to be provided when they approach us in the first place.
Excellent. All right, this is good conversation. However, I need to move on. So on Tuesday, you were given the assignment. We're going to move through these questions fairly quickly. You were given the assignment to move something. And then yesterday, you were asked to document a prediction before moving something. So how do you answer the question, how did it go? How did you guys answer that question? Did you even ask yourself the question, how did it go?
I think in my case, I just talk with the people that it impacts the most and see how they feel that it went.
I got it. Okay,
There's
good.
not really a tangible way to like have a data collection necessarily. So
yeah, that's one approach we frequently take. In fact, I've done that in some tests. I've gone back to teams that were participating in a test and asked for a thumbs up, thumbs down. Do we want to continue this? That was my very simple method of data collection. However, there's some aspects to that beforehand that you want to deal with. And so we want to approach some other questions here. So when you test a change by making a move, what should be the intention?
To see what the impact is of that move.
Sort of. Our intention should always be to learn something. So that's the impact of the move is a response to, am I learning something? So, yep. And how might you use a prediction to help you learn something?
I was going to say, did you have the knowledge up front that you needed to further the process?
Maybe. What you're going to do is compare what happened to your prediction. So you have a prediction in hand, you move something, and then something happens. So that's how your prediction begins to help you learn, by making it available to compare outcomes or results with. So will any type of prediction work?
No, it should be like an if-then statement, and it should be rational.
Rational. And there's one other aspect of that as well. I won't make you guess. You need a prediction that could be proved wrong. So it has to be falsifiable. And so why is it important for you to make a prediction that could be proved wrong? What do you learn when your prediction is right? Brian, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, sometimes you can learn more by a mistake than yeah. I mean, if you predict something, then it's right. Then you've learned less because that's what you expected.
Yeah, in fact, you actually learn nothing. And answering, I learned I was right, is not learning. Often people want to try that. But in reality, if you already knew something, you haven't gained any knowledge. So we look at this and said, what do you learn when your prediction is wrong?
I guess that goes back to what I was saying before, that maybe you didn't have the information or the input that you needed.
Yeah, so be cautious about thinking I need more information or more input. There's something else that's going on when you make a prediction. And it's much more important than lack of information or lack of data. So you need to find a new way of thinking about whatever that thing is. So you've got a theory in your head about how things work, either a relationship, the importance of that thing, the causal influences. But what you're looking at is actually you're taking an idea or theory in your head about how the world works, you're turning it into a prediction. So it's not that you don't have enough information, it's that your thinking, your theories about the world need to be adjusted. So don't worry. I mean, you will be collecting more information to help test your theories, but what's missing or what's changing is you get an opportunity to actually find out that how I'm thinking needs to be rephrased. I need a new way of thinking. So what is a good test result?
A result which is accepted by a majority.
Say that again, please.
A result which is accepted by the majority and which is helping us to improve a process.
Yeah, so in relationship to understanding how our theory is working or not working, what we really want to have is a result that says, I learned something. So, and be cautious about a result that's accepted by the majority. Remember Deming said enlargement of a committee is not knowledge. You know, like it doesn't add to what we know just because more people agree. What we're looking for is a test result that says, I learned something. So the objective is to plan your moves so you'll have an opportunity to learn something. meaning plan your moves and make your predictions to produce this result. What does plan your moves so you can have an opportunity to learn something mean? You want to ask yourself that question. What will you do? You want to select something that can be moved, either in an actual process or in a prototype or simulation. Make a prediction that's falsifiable. And you must write down your prediction before you make your move and test your prediction. All right, any questions before we wrap up? We're a minute over.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If you make predictions and moves in your system are meant to try to improve the system pretty much, right?
Yep.
But if you predict something and make a move and you're right, doesn't that help reinforce that your system may be functioning pretty well, at least for that particular aspect?
Yeah, you might have more confidence in your theory, right? What you want to do is especially in any kind of process is stress test your process. Go to the boundary edges, find opportunities to stretch that process and see if it works, on the extremes of what your process is working with. All right, I need to wrap up. And then if you want to stick around, we can. So schedule your appointments today for your Teach to Learn conversation and your plan to learn work and making your moves so you can actually learn something. Topics today were variation and answering how to go, and applying it to your project. The on the court conversation is plan and make a move designed to learn. So here's a quick question. Why do we use this image around our theory of knowledge quotes? Someone learning to ride a bicycle. Anybody?
It's a process.
Yeah, and it's an interesting kind of process. So is this a process that you can learn watching a video or reading a book? Will you ever learn how to ride a bike by watching somebody else do it or hearing a lecture on it? How do you learn to ride a bike?
And you have to do it and you have to fall down and do it again.
Yeah. That's what doing improvement is in your organization. You will never learn how to do it unless you actually go do it. And that's why we use this image related to some of our work in the academy. It's like riding a bike. It's non-declarative knowledge. There's some things that you learn about that you can't tell people about. And once you get it, it sticks. So that's why we use that image. Richard Feynman, physicist and Nobel Prize winner, said, if it doesn't matter how beautiful your theory is, it doesn't not matter how smart you are. If it doesn't agree with experiment, it's wrong. And then our other theory of knowledge quote is from Kerwin Charles, who's dean at the Yale School of Management. He said, I believe we should be open to revision, especially those of us in a leadership role. If events prove you wrong, you should not feel belittled by that. You should just pivot and change after due diligence has been done, information has been acquired, and some reflection has occurred. So these are quotes that you want to add to your theory of knowledge mind map that you started yesterday, and continue adding to those throughout the course. Okay. All right. So thank you. Go forth, make yourself wrong and learn, and we'll see you tomorrow. If you want to stick around, you can. Otherwise, goodbye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Be safe.